What's up? Super dope. So this is the next GT installment. I think it's episodes 3, 4, and 5. These have been available on Patreon for the last couple weeks. I've currently watched up to episode 14, 15, somewhere in there. So I think there's like 3 or 4 up on Patreon if you want to listen to the next 2. The next one most certainly is not going to be public cut because I complain about Trunks and that whole weird arc way too much. But before the GT rewatch rolls, confirmed. Stephanie Nadolny will be coming back as the voice of Kid Goku for Dragon Ball Daima, as reported by Danny Geekdom a couple weeks back. We talked about it on the last episode briefly. I say we, it was just me. But not only that, not only is that wonderful news and everyone has so much to be excited about with her reprising her role. Reprising. They're also going to do a theater event through Fathom Events, which is the company who's done the distribution for all the Dragon Ball films going back over the last 10 years. They do a lot of different anime releases in the West in terms of like theater events and stuff like that, like limited run theater events. And they're going to be doing one for the first 3 dub episodes of Dragon Ball Daima, I believe on or around November 1st. I really should have made a note of that before I talked about how wonderful it is that Nadolny will be coming back. I'm looking for that information out. Here it is. Get tickets at fathomevents.com. The world English dub premiere of episodes 1 through 3 in theaters only on November 10th, 11th, and 12th. Very exciting, dude. I can't wait. It's always cool to have a theater event and to have an excuse to go watch Dragon Ball stuff in public with other people and have this be like a sort of like a communal event. Never mind what we're celebrating, the last work of Toriyama, the return of Stephanie Nadolny for the dub. I'm not a dub guy. Obviously, I watch everything in Japanese because I'm that kind of guy, but she is the first Goku I ever heard, and I will go so far as to say, outside of Masako Nozawa, she's the only other good Goku to me. Sean Schemmel's got his moments, but it's not the same. I don't know. No disrespect. Or maybe I'm being disrespectful. Who cares? So make sure you guys get your tickets. I imagine it'll be a pretty fun time. November 10, 11, and 12. It will likely be near you in theaters. So that's all I wanted to say before the GT episode jumps in. Episodes 3, 4, 5. Goku versus capitalism. Get ready. I bitch about money a bunch and real estate and blah, blah, blah. So hopefully some angry anti-American rants on a Friday afternoon will do you some good. I'll see you for the next episode. Ranma's coming out next week, so probably check in on some Ranma stuff soon. Very excited about that reboot, and I'll talk with you soon. Super dope. Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. We're still going forth with the GT rewatch. So I like to call this little mini arc in GT Goku versus Capitalism. And by that I mean we're going to be covering GT episodes 3, 4, and 5 today. They kind of just go together pretty naturally, so I figured it kind of makes sense. What stinks about this arc is that it's like a good example of what this show could have been in terms of all of the little mini arcs, but this is like one of the better examples of one of their mini arcs. So episodes 1 and 2 do a very good job of setting up the concept. 3, 4, and 5, while they have some, what's the right way to phrase it? I don't want to say problems. They operate the way that they are meant to within the plot of the show, but there are points where it's just kind of annoying. I'm looking at you, Trunks. I'm looking at you, Pan. Pan does not know what she wants to be. Look to the beginning of episode 3. You see Pan like in 3 different scenes in the first half of the episode, and she is 3 completely different people throughout. But I feel like this arc with Don Kia, what a fucking villain name, Don Kia. I used to have a girlfriend who drove a Kia. I should have called it Don Kia. Either way, this whole episode, or this set of episodes, I should say, is just about like basically getting taken advantage of for your money, but also there's like this refugee element in like a planned, like you're trapped here kind of deal going on. But I want to read the synopses of these episodes. They're much shorter than episodes 1 and 2, thankfully. And we'll kind of just go through them as we do. So episode 3, it's called, the dub title is Terror on Emeka. But the Japanese title, The Ultimate Money Grubbers Emega, Planet of Merchants. And it originally came out on February 21st, 96. Bulma finds a small part of the ship that fell off during takeoff. The absence of the part causes a jet to fall off the ship. Trunks makes an emergency landing on the nearest planet, Emeka. Everyone on this planet tries to sell them things. Even the hotel they stay at charges them for every possible thing. I do want to pause right there. So, like, they land on this planet and they just automatically get swamped with all of these street merchants trying to sell them, like, jewelry and wigs and makeup and shit. And it's very fun. And they get to the hotel and they check in. And the hotel guy's like, yeah, man, we ain't like that here. Don't worry about a thing. We're nice. We don't put the sell on. And then a robot picks up their luggage and accidentally mistakes Goku for luggage, which is like a continuing thing that they'll do throughout the series. Like, little kid Goku is not a person. He is just an inanimate object for which you can make jokes with. So this robot picks them up, and then when they drop them off, they're like, hey, put in a tip. And it's like, oh, all right. So the guy at the front desk said you don't put the hard sell on, but you make the fucking robots do it. All I could think of was those baristas who, you know, flip the iPad around and ask for a tip after you ordered like a $3 coffee that they're not even making. They're just taking the money for it. I hate capitalism. Capitalism is a very problematic system. The oligarchs of America are fucking things up terribly. But when you think about this episode coming out when it did, it's just a very interesting commentary that they chose to make. And I think it's really funny, and it's done in a kind of a fun way. Let's see. They learn that this, meaning all the money motherfucking shit. They learn that this is all because of the new tyrannical king of Emeka, who's named Don Kia. And it's a very masculine looking dude with a big, like, sharp jawline, but he's pretty much a bitch. And also wears lots of makeup. I'm not sure what kind of thing they were trying to say with the choices for that character, but interesting character nonetheless. Don Kia, you the king, war, queen. While walking back to the ship, Trunks drops the dragon radar and it is eaten by a small robot. After they catch the robot, they see their spaceship being dragged away. So they escape capitalism, and then a robot eats their fucking dragon radar. And they're like, all right, cool, now technology's fucking us. If it's not one thing, it's the other. And then they look up and they're like, ah, dude, that's our spaceship getting taken away by a spaceship tow truck? And that's just capitalism slapping its dick back in your face all over again. Ain't no rest for the wicked. Nobody's spaceship doesn't get towed for not free. Not free? You understand what I mean. Episode 4, The Most Wanted List, aka the one with all the memes of Goku and Trunks and Pan's wanted posters. They get so much mileage out of those shots, man. Those shots are so fucking funny, and they are used like 5 different times in this episode, and I love each time. The Most Wanted List, the Japanese title, Wanted, Desperado Son Goku. Dude, that can't be right, yeah? I just watched this episode on Crunchyroll, and I don't think Desperado Son Goku was the title. If it was, I somehow tragically missed it. Otherwise, I would have had that laugh happen more organically and not on a microphone in front of y'all. February 28th, 1996. Desperado Son Goku. It's too cool to be true. Pan packs up the robot in her backpack. Who the fuck writes these? Goku tries to use instant transmission to catch the thieves, but finds that his control over the ability is severely limited due to his new body. So, pause. This is like the first in a series of things that they'll look to do where it's like, oh, I don't want to say it nerfs Goku. It kind of does in a way. It limits his ability to do things that you'd expect him to be able to do otherwise. And the excuse, they just read it away with like, oh, it's his little kid body. Ugh. He can't teleport. He can still track the people's key signature and try to move toward it, but nope. He just can't do it. Nope. I don't know. I feel like this is one of the first examples of him having to like work back through his skill set, and more or less like as a fan of as somebody who's watched Dragon Ball, let's say, for 10 years at this point, you're like, well, why doesn't he just fly faster? Why doesn't he bust out Kamehameha? Why doesn't he go Super Saiyan? Why doesn't he instant transmission? And they go through sort of a step-by-step progression of things that you would expect Goku to be able to do normally, but there's some kind of caveat to it. You're going to see it again with Super Saiyan 3, I think is when it happens. It's been a minute since I've watched GT, but I believe Super Saiyan 3 is a problem for him to maintain because of his little body. The fact that he turns Super Saiyan in these episodes actually is kind of a welcome, fun thing. To see like that desaturated white hair. It's a very cool fight in episode 5 with Legic, but this first one with instant transmission is, it would be so easy. If he was just a normal size adult and he could use instant transmission to just hop around through the universe and figure out how to get the Dragon Balls that way. But they do kind of go through great pains to be able to explain some of that away. And I get it. Otherwise you don't have much of a show because he's just so OP by the end of Dragon Ball Z. And then you see what him and Uber doing in GT and shaking the heavenly realm and all that shit. You do have to give them some sort of limitations, I understand. But I just thought this was an interesting way to start it off, and kind of the most practical way as well. By that I mean, when the task is first set out before them, it's like, well, he can just teleport places, right? Oh no, he's just gonna blast off into space. He didn't even think about the teleporting thing. What am I doing here at home as the audience? Fucking thinking about it too much, apparently. And then they give you an excuse to like take that off your plate. No, Goku's not able to do it. Let's see. His ability is severely limited due to his new body. Got it. They follow the tracks to the palace and sneak in. By the way, a lot of sneaking in scenes. Some of that choreography is very cool and unusual for Dragon Ball. At least some of it. I don't know. If you watch it, I feel like you'd understand what I meant, but I can't really explain it. Some of the breaking into the palace stuff is very cool, visually speaking. Let's see. When they reach their ship, their cover is blown, and they have to make a quick escape. They safely reach the outskirts of town, but Trunks, that fucking queen, still needs to fix a part of the ship. Back in town, they find that they are the top of Mecha's most wanted list. To make matters worse, a band of military officers arrives to arrest them. So it's the natural progression of, I'm fighting capitalism, now I'm fighting the government, now I'm fighting the fucking police. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. I can't say the next line because it's just a bad look for a male with my skin tone. Either way, the end of this is like they're going to get their shit back and the police show up. And now, and honestly, I don't know, this is stupid to focus on probably and pointless to focus on. It is what it is in terms of the show and the plot and what they're trying to package it up to be, right? But these dudes just got like guns. I've been watching you motherfuckers handle guns since the literal first episode of Dragon Ball Z. Why are you guys so afraid? You got to get some shit done. Just, go get it done, dude. Why are we so afraid of these little bullets and shit? Like,
space bullets be damned. I don't know. It's just, I hate the term power scaling. I hate the idea of power scaling. But just knowing how far that these people have progressed in their martial arts capabilities over the last 10 years of watching their stories, sometimes the reasoning behind some of their decisions in this series it's borderline frustrating. Another stupid example, like at the beginning of episode 3, Pan is like, I have the main key. You can't take it from me, because if you do, you're just going to bring me right back to Earth. And the longer I have it, the better for me, and we'll be further from Earth. And I don't want to go back to Earth. By all stretches of imagination, Trunks should be able to just grab that thing out of her fucking hand and not make much more noise about it. Just be like, little girl, go home. Nope, he's not into that. I don't know. Like, I understand that it's just because they want to keep the story moving forward, but even as somebody who genuinely hates power scaling, when they dumb it down to that level, to the point where you're asked to excuse like what you've known about these characters or their capabilities in recent memory, at least, it's like, this shouldn't be an issue, but it is, because you guys want to tell this stupid story. Why don't you just figure out how to tell a different stupid story that acknowledges all of the things that these people are capable of doing? That might be more interesting, but no, let's do some Looney Tunes shit. They literally do Looney Tunes shit in the fucking episode where Goku's trying to do the teleportation. He's like doing the instantaneous movement. They are literally like side by side with fucking Wile E. Coyote and the fucking Roadrunner. Like that kind of scene. And they teleport up and they teleport down and smash their faces into a thing. And it's like, where's the fucking Acme like bang flag for when he fails, you know? Anyway, fuck capitalism, fuck the police. Let's go on to episode 5. It's called Goku versus Legic. In America, in Japanese, it's called, check it out, a tough guy. Actually, in the Crunchyroll episode, it says something like, finally a tough guy. Meaning like, we're 5 episodes in. Finally, Goku has somebody to fight, which is fun. The Bodyguard. Like Kevin Costner, you think? March 6th, 1996. Goku, Trunks, and Pan decide to give themselves up so they can infiltrate the king's palace. Once inside, they break their bonds and head to the king's room. After failing to stop them with guns, because who the fuck uses guns and like expects any kind of result? Like, I'll tell you, man. I thought I clocked this shit and I thought about it and I was like, what gives? There is a point in the previous episode where Legic is not really revealed to be who he is. You know, like you just see him and he has the thought. He sees Goku blast a Kamehameha, and it's a good one. It's like the first one you've seen him use in the series. So it kind of like also checks the boxes of like, he's a little kid. Can he do everything? Well, he can definitely do the Kamehameha. Up next is the instantaneous movement, and he can't do that. Up next is Super Saiyan. That's cool to see him do that. When he does the Kamehameha, Legic is like, ah, fuck. Is that a Saiyan? Like, bitch, how would you know? Everyone here is using key-based attacks. For the most part, except your gun bitches. He doesn't have his tail. I thought maybe he had his tail for a second, but no, he does not turn into a little kid and automatically spawn his tail. That happens later. Like, what gives it away to him that it's a Saiyan? You know what I mean? Stupid thing to fucking be, like, perturbed by, but why does this bitch know? His big-ass green spotted fucking liver spotted head. Anyway, after failing to stop them with guns, he sends his best fighter, Legic, that green-headed, liver-spotted, fucking-headed motherfucker that I just talked about, after them. Goku and Legic begin to fight, and Goku's transformation into a Super Saiyan is too much for Legic, and he gives up defeated. That could have been another thing, too. Like, if he saw him turn Super Saiyan, and he was like, oh, shit, you're a Saiyan, that would, like, raise up its own entire different level of, like, questions and just like, how would you know what a Super Saiyan is? How about you just don't know what a fucking Super Saiyan or Saiyan, like, I don't like Legic's familiarity with the Saiyans, in case you can't tell. But I do like that little kid Goku turns into a Super Saiyan and busts this dude's ass all up and down Main Street. Busts it meaning whoops it, not busts it meaning other stuff. Anyway, his Super Saiyan form is too much for logic and he gives up defeated. The king, Don Kia, that lipstick wearing broad shitted weirdo, the king promises to give his citizens free rent on their homes. Bro, there is a scene. Holy shit. Like, I don't know. I bitch about capitalism. I bitch about America. I bitch about politics all the time. One of the things, having worked in real estate, but for a good chunk over the last decade, I worked in real estate as things were bottoming out and then coming back up. So like 2016, 2017, 2018, I started to see all these houses come up in terms of value and rates were still historically low. And there was just a real inventory problem, right? And I would often ask myself and a couple other coworkers who all, were curious about the market because we recruited talent. So you had to kind of know where the market was going to kind of understand what kind of talent you need to recruit. And we'd ask ourselves, like, where's the bust going to come? You know what I mean? And it never came. And I'll tell you why it never came. Because it was a bunch of fucking hedge funds, like government subsidied hedge fund bitches buying up a ton of rental properties at these super low rates and then renting them out at an exorbitant fee to people. But even more so than that. And like, I sort of suspected this, but stories have started to come out about it in the last maybe like 4 or 5 months. Of course, AI. They started to use this AI program, landlords would, to be able to compare the cost of rent, for them and their property and what they offered versus what somebody may offer in terms of rent in a similar kind of property in other markets. So they'd see somebody in a different market being, getting like $2,000, say, just for sake of easy numbers, for their 2-3 bedroom apartment. They'd be like, all right, if they can get that in Boston, I can definitely get that in Providence, And basically the result is like a super artificially inflated rental market. And it's currently being investigated by the SEC, I believe, for like, I don't know if price fixing is the right word, but it is certainly some sort of collusion to be able to fix those prices into a higher bracket than they otherwise would be if they didn't have that kind of technology available to them to be able to compare prices. My point is, that's basically the fucking world that Goku, Trunks, and Pan land on. And they meet this old couple who landed on this planet accidentally, got their ship taken away from them, and are now forced to rent. And they can't afford the fucking rent. So what happens? The moment their rent is due, the robot police show up and they say, pay your rent now. We're going to take your motherfucking roof off. And they're like, well, what broke? And they literally take the roof off of their house. Jesus Christ. I feel like it's kind of a fun story for Dragon Ball to do because, Frieza, Akira Toriyama, is very open about having based him off of real estate speculators and the people who do this exact kind of thing in terms of overcharging for properties for the sake of a buck and inflating the market and things like that. It is kind of a fun little arc and a good first arc for GT. I wish they'd all follow some sort of little theme like this. I mean, granted, I'm biased because fuck the fucking capitalism system, That was a sentence. But I don't know. I just feel like they don't do as good a job. Like, I think episode 7, it's like Princess Trunks is getting married because of a mishap. Oh, woo. And I'm pretty sure it's like right around the time my patience starts to check out. But in the meantime, I've enjoyed the first 5 episodes. It is important to, remember what it is and what it was meant to be in terms of being a reset for the franchise while still trying to honor the things that came before it, in some respects anyway. But like I said in the last episode, the further they get from Earth, the further they get from what makes GT work, which is the expansive cast. And I think that's one of the places that Dragon Ball Super definitely succeeds over GT is it's pretty Earth-based. I mean, you do see Goku and Vegeta go off and train on Beerus' planet a bunch and they're away, but it does cut back to Earth and those other characters for B and C plots quite frequently. I think just from that perspective, Super will always have the edge over GT, especially in the early going, even though the early going of Super is just a reselling of a movie that we already saw. It is kind of complicated when you compare them like that, like the start of one series versus another. But I do think once they get to the Universe 6, Universe 7 stuff in Super, and they kind of start to do not an original thing. We've seen a billion tournament arcs, but starting to do a new thing we haven't seen previously in any kind of iteration, whether it be movie, manga, or whatever. It does start to get more interesting. At around the same time in GT, around like 2025, somewhere in there, it does become much more interesting when the Sufurians and Baby and the other Saiyans get involved again. So in terms of trajectory of the series, dude, oh my God, I'm thinking about it out loud. I'm talking about it out loud. Is this rewatch going to change my mind? Am I going to have to do a super rewatch? Like to reconfirm my suspicions? Am I going to walk away from this GT rewatch thinking I was wrong? Nope. Bitch, I'm never wrong. Except when I am, which I don't think is now. Although I could be. I don't think I am. Some of the Shadow Dragon, like later GT stuff is pretty painful as well. Once Dragon Ball Super, I should say, gets through Battle of Gods and Frieza in the anime retelling, it's not all perfect. Some of it is kind of bad. There is some very quality filler in there. And I say that like, what is that? Like the first fucking 23 episodes, probably? Just off the top of my head, I'm not looking it up. First 23 episodes of Dragon Ball GT. I mean, you're already like halfway through the Baby Saga, which is when it starts to get good. But then it dips again in the Shadow Dragon Saga. Shadow Dragon Saga is such a cool concept. The coolest of fucking concepts. And there's some of it in there where it's like, oh my God, can you please just get this over with so we can get to the next one? I don't know. I guess we'll see more about how I feel. I think I'm going to continue to do them in like, either 2 to 4 episode increments. Just to kind of keep it moving. I'd like to do the whole series, but who knows? I might not sit down to do another one of these rewatches for GT for like another 3 years. 3 weeks, 3 years, who knows? I do appreciate you listening though, and I hope you had a good time. If you want an uncut version of this, make sure you go check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Dragon Ball Super Dope. Thank you for everybody who supports us there with that $5 a month tier, getting things uncut and early and all the extra premium podcasts. We do appreciate you guys hanging with us for as long as you have. And I guess I'll see you next time. Giru? He ate the Dragon Radar, so now he's part of the cast. I failed to mention that. I can't wait to get to Planet M2 and want to kick that fuck right in his face even more. The fact that I remember Planet M2, I think, tells me I remember enough of GT to have such a strong opinion on it. And that opinion is, I don't think it's as good as Superman. All right, that's it. I'll see you next time, Dragon Ball Super Dope. I didn't even make up words because I knew in my heart I was going to do the what is it? Gotta go. That was bad. I'll figure it out. Super dope.